Hello everyone, I'm Meteorologist Charlie Ironmonger. Thank you so much for joining me today for your noon news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. Now let's cut straight to the chase. I know what people are here for. I know what you guys want to see, and you want to talk about snow. Rightfully so. We've been talking about the potential for snow all week long. Pretty much from last weekend when we were disappointed with how the forecast turned out. Obviously, we saw the deterioration of snow really occur last weekend. This weekend, completely different. Completely different. A new weekend, a new day in eastern North Carolina. And coming up over the weekend, we've got anywhere between 3 to 8 inches of snow expected to come down. Again, these are expectations. Now, for those of you wondering, could these numbers get higher? Yes. Yes, they can. Right now, again, we are kind of leaning more towards a conservative estimate because over the past 24 hours, we have seen model data inject more dry air into the moisture field of the low pressure system. That will lead to decreased amounts of snow coming down across eastern North Carolina. So if that dry air does not actually make its way into that low pressure system or within the moisture field, these numbers could certainly get higher. But again, going conservative because of what we have seen over the past 48 hours. Today's model runs have shown that dry air. Yesterday's model runs showed that dry air. And again, we'll see what we have coming up later on this afternoon. But everything, again, continues to point towards that dry air being there. And again, that will reduce the amount of snowfall we could potentially see out of this system. Do want to say good afternoon to Esmeralda from Chinquapin. Thank you so much for joining me, Esmeralda, along with Jennifer and Chris. Chris says he's ready for 100-degree days. Oh, Chris, you and me, we're like this, man. We're polar opposites. I have been outside trying to soak up as much of the cold air and try to remember what it feels like to truly shiver. That way, once we get to the summer months and it's just like we can't stop sweating, you kind of keep that memory in your mind. It's like, okay, remember at one point in your life, you were cold. And this is what I'm trying to soak up right now. But I totally understand you're seeing it the opposite way, Chris. Hopefully, again, you can get maybe a nice warm toasty fire going to maybe get you a little bit warmer than, of course, the air temperatures are showing currently. Right now in Grifton, we've got air temps just above freezing, 34 degrees right now, northwesterly wind at 6 miles an hour. And that 6-mile-per-hour breeze is making it feel like 29 degrees. It is a cold one no matter where you are in the east. And even as we head into tomorrow, we're going to stay cold, and then obviously through the weekend, we're going to be even colder. But this northwesterly wind is certainly doing our air temperatures a service or disservice, depending on, of course, on what you're rooting for. If you're hoping for snow, this is what you want to see. Northwesterly winds, bringing in that colder air, keeping air temperatures from getting too warm. That way, ground temperatures can drop back below freezing faster later on tonight. Now, Ursula, never see Pender County up here. What about Burgaw? Fantastic question, Ursula. I would say Burgaw, you guys are likely looking at about 3 to 5 inches, kind of within that. I know it's Highway 17 does kind of curl back towards Jacksonville, but generally between Highway 17 and I-95, if you kind of take that stretch a little bit further south, that would, of course, then include Pender County, and I think you guys in Pender more 3 to 5 inches. Obviously, of course, those numbers could get higher if that dry air goes out, but for right now, that's, I think, a pretty good estimate for if you're watching in Burgaw. Now, again, let's get back to your forecast. We're looking this afternoon at air temperatures in the mid, possibly upper 30s for some. It's going to be difficult to get there, though, especially with the northerly winds in place. Later on tonight, cloud cover starts to increase over the east. This is the beginning of the system. Obviously, we won't see any sort of moisture really get squeezed out of those clouds until we get later and later into the day on Friday. Here's what we've got for today. Hopefully it's not shocking to see, again, very little showing up. Just looks like I've got a map up, but no, there is data coming in. Friday morning, still looking dry, looking very dry. Once we get to your Friday afternoon, we may see a few flakes closer to the Virginia line. But I want to caution you, those of you watching along the coast, you will start out with raindrops. It may again be a shock to the system, but coming up Friday night into Saturday morning, initially it's going to come down as rain. Here's Saturday, 1 a.m. along the coast. We've got raindrops coming down. But then further back towards the west, you see that snow really starting to fill in. Let's advance this a little bit further as we head towards Saturday morning. Again, still looking at some rain potentially along the coast. And then, well, our model kind of runs out. We're just close enough to give you guys a more in-depth, high-resolution read of what we're looking at until we get to around midday Saturday, and then, well, we've got to wait a little bit longer for those models to really roll in. They're 48-hour models, so again, once you hit that limit, that's about as far as you can go. Then you got to zoom it out and take more of a hit in your resolution, but of course we could still see exactly what's going on. That area of low pressure you're seeing back towards Oklahoma, that is the source of the moisture. Obviously it's not going to be super moisture laden until it gets into the Atlantic specifically, possibly even the Gulf, but this is when it really starts to gather up the moisture needed for us to see the snow flurries here in eastern North Carolina. So let's zoom again back in. This is again more of a zoomed out look, but we will try and take it in a little bit closer. That way everybody can see exactly how this whole system is going to progress. We do have another question from Valerie. Hi from Fayetteville. What are your thoughts on totals for us? Fayetteville, you guys again are going to be likely looking, I would say I'd give you guys more of a, we'll say 4 to 6 inches for Fayetteville. You could get higher than that. We've seen model totals upwards around possibly 6, 7, maybe 8 inches, but with the dry air, that in fact, if you look over there, you can kind of see that little zone there, kind of over Cape Fear. That is the dry air working into that moisture field, and that obviously really impacts your snowfall amounts. If you have breaks in your moisture, you're not going to be collecting moisture through the day. You're not going to be collecting snowflakes, and that will obviously reduce the amount of snow you could potentially end up with. So that's why our numbers are conservative. It's because we continue to see models suggest over multiple model runs. I believe right now we're sitting at about four full model runs, 0Z and 12Z, for those of you keeping up with us. 0Z, 12Z runs, 2 each, where we have seen that dry air mix in with that moisture field. If that dry air decides it wants to move out by the time we get, say, to tomorrow afternoon, then we will be increasing our expectations for snowfall. But because that dry air is present, we can't give you guys, again, higher numbers than what we currently have. We are acknowledging that it is a possibility, but with that dry air, it certainly, again, could kind of throw a wrench into things. Now, normally what we see with snow here in eastern North Carolina, what makes it very difficult is the warm air that is present closer to the coast. We always refer to that as the warm nose of the Atlantic trying to stick its way into our snowfall business. That's not looking nearly as impactful this go-round because of how cold air temperatures are right now and how cold air temperatures are likely going to be staying over your Friday and then, of course, into Saturday and Sunday. We've got a couple more questions. We got Chris Bird. What's goody? See you, Chris. As far as Lauren Richardson, hey, Charlie from Washington. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. How about Greenville? Greenville, again, right around 3 to 5 inches. That goes out to Kim Fultz. For Duplin County, I believe, Israel Andres. Duplin, you guys, again, still at that 3 to 5 inch range. You're getting close to maybe 3 to 6, but I would anticipate around 3 to 5 inches. Let's fast forward this model and show you guys when it's going to exit. I would say once we get into the early afternoon on Sunday, we're going to be seeing the last of the snowflakes come down. What this isn't telling you, though, is that the snowflakes that we will have accumulated up to that point will be sticking around. We're not looking at a big melt coming up on Monday. A little bit more melting on Tuesday. I think it's going to be Wednesday where we really start to see a lot of that melt take hold. Obviously, it's going to be helpful with potential light rain showers coming down on Wednesday. The more rain we see on Wednesday, the faster that melt is going to be. But Richard Allsbrook, when does it start? It will start for most Saturday morning. Obviously, for those of you watching along the coast, you will start out with raindrops, and then it will change over to freezing rain, then sleet, and then snow. I would anticipate that changeover to occur, I would say, midday Saturday to Saturday afternoon. Give it around a 12 to 3 p.m. window. And in that window, that's when I really think we're going to see that cold air take hold even along the coast. And that's when we're going to see a transition into complete snow from 95 all the way to the coast. How's it looking for Engelhard? From Amy Cash, you guys are going to be in the 5 to 8 inch range. Being closer to that low exposes you to a little bit more warmth, but it also brings in more moisture for you, which will lead to a better opportunity for higher snowfall totals. So again, in Hyde County and Engelhard specifically, again, I'd anticipate 5 to 8 inches of snow coming down. Edgecombe, I give it around 3 to 5 inches. And then Harlow and Craven County, kind of south end of Craven, I would anticipate 4 to 6 inches of snow for the Harlow area. That goes out to Cindy Creech. Timelines, yeah, Richard Oswick just joined. Timeline Saturday, went through that. All right, I think we're caught up on questions. I really appreciate you guys asking them because while we do have quite a few people watching right now, there will be people who come back, rewatch this, and again can get those answers, again, that I may not have come out with originally. So you guys are an assist for me. Joshua, why do some models have dry air and some don't? How do you determine which is more accurate? Great question, Josh. You have been crushing it with the questions so far this week, man. Appreciate it. First question, why do some models have dry air and some don't? The initialization and structure of each model is always going to be a little bit different. The equations that they use aren't all exactly the same. Each one has different inputs and different parts of the equation that can ramp up certain aspects, and it can make a model strong in some regards, say strong in anticipating, rainfall coming in and rainfall amounts. Other models can be strong in other instances, say trying to forecast heat, when the big push of heat is going to be coming in. So each one is a little bit different, and that's obviously why meteorologists go to school for 4 years to study high-level math and physics to understand how those models truly function. I will say that with the cuts to the National Weather Service and NOAA in general from DOGE, we have seen a reduction in accuracy off of the GFS model, which is why we have again leaned closer and closer towards what the European model has put out over the last few events. We also saw last weekend's event, the GFS was still trying to put out more of a snowfall solution on Thursday and Friday, while the European had kind of locked in on that, split low and then more of a freezing rain event for us. Obviously, we saw more of that freezing rain event. So in the short term, what we know right now is that the European has been more locked in on the weather pattern, and it has been more accurate over the short-term period. So that's what we are kind of leaning more towards. It's what our models' accuracy levels looking like within the past 30 days, and that can give you a little bit more of a hint on, okay, which one do I need to lean on? Which one should I take a look at, but maybe ignore a little bit if it's an outlier? So great question there. All right, we've got Onslow towards Swansboro, likely 3 to 5 inches for Betsy Leedy, southeast Pitt County, 3 to 5 inches from Kevin. Let's say, yeah, Richard Albrook. Richard, I see you. You've asked 3 times. It starts Saturday morning if you're watching from an inland area. If you're watching along the coast, say east of 17, you're probably looking at a changeover from rain, sleet, to snow between noon and 3 p.m. So your start time is going to be a little bit later for the snow event along the immediate coastline. But again, it's going to be starting on Saturday. Everything finishes as we head through the middle of the day on Sunday. Now, we have an email. People are traveling from Georgia and Pennsylvania. Will those folks be traveling? Yes. Yes. people will be impacted, especially as you again head into eastern North Carolina. This is really going to be more of a Carolina system. You're not going to be seeing a whole lot of reports nationwide about this system. This is really a North Carolina and even parts of southern Virginia snowstorm. This is not going to be an everywhere system like what we had last weekend. Obviously, last weekend's system was not nearly as impactful as it was for areas off to our west in Tennessee, where there's still areas that are iced over and without power. Virginia was hit quite a bit harder than we were last weekend. This weekend, this is eastern North Carolina, but more so just North Carolina as a whole, a system that's going to impact us more than anybody else. How much for Martin County? About 3 to 5 inches. That goes out to Tommy Castillo, Cecilia Ayers, Wilson. I would anticipate about 4 to 6 inches, possibly a little bit higher if you're watching. I'm assuming you're talking Wilson in Wilson County. If you're talking about the county in general, the farther west you go, the closer you get to Raleigh, the higher those snowfall totals could be. You could get up to around maybe 7 inches in Wilson, but I wouldn't put money on that. I would go more 4 to 6 for Wilson. And then we've got Marvin Richardson enjoying from Washington. Marvin, thank you so much. Again, thank you everybody for asking these questions. Kinston, again, 3 to 5 inches. New Bern, I would give it around 4 to 6, possibly even higher than that, depending, of course, on that dry air. But I'm going to get my face off of here. I am going to, again, be putting together a county-by-county look. It was one of those that I've started working on, but unfortunately was not able to finish all of the counties in eastern North Carolina at an exact forecast for each one of you, but that is certainly something that I'm working on. I see a lot of requests for New Bern. Again, New Bern, you guys are looking at, I would give it 4 to 6, possibly 4 to 7 inches. Right now you're in the 5 to 8 inch zone, but you're kind of closer to the border there, which is why, 4 to 7 is a pretty good number for Central Craven County. Swansboro, I would anticipate similar to New Bern. We'll call it 4 to 6, maybe 4 to 7. And Mount Olive from Christopher, this one likely 3 to 5 inches for Mount Olive. There we go. I think I've got most of them. But for those of you, again, who I may not have gone over your area, your county, your city, your town, not to worry. Again, we will have the full county-by-county look coming up later on today, right here on the First Alert Desk. That way, again, you guys have a quick and easy way to see exactly what you need to know for your area. Obviously, some people like the maps. Other people's, again, like it a little bit more spelled out. Totally understand. With this system, again, we want to get as much information to you guys as possible so you can help keep everyone safe. Not just yourselves, not just your family, but making good decisions also keeps first responders in a safe place, because they won't have to, again, go out to an emergency that could have been avoided, so long as you make those safe decisions. Now, we'll be back with more news and weather coming up at the top of the hour. Until then, have a fantastic rest of your Thursday. We'll see you back here at 1 o'clock.